When you're first getting to know the Ampero 2 Stomp, it can be a bit overwhelming. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create your first patch in just a couple of minutes. But before we get to it, if this is your first visit to my channel, take a second, click on that subscribe button down there, give me a thumbs up, help my video rank in the YouTube algorithm so I can make more content for you. Okay, enough of that, let's get to creating that patch. As the purpose of this video is to get you up and running quickly and writing patches today, I'm going to forego all of the complicated advanced stuff, and we'll save that for another video down the road. First and foremost, what we want to do is we want to set up the signal path. Now, the signal path inside of the Ampero 2 is really simple. You have an A path and a B path, and you can put up to 6 effects into each of these paths. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the signal path button here. I'm going to select factory template and serial. And once this is done, signal path A is now being fed into signal path B. So we're just keeping it very simple to an input and output sort of situation. The other thing I'm also going to do here is I'm going to change the patch volume, because right now it's set at 100 and that's just way too high. Once I start adding all the amps and effects and everything else, you'll blow your ears right off if you're at 100. In fact, if you look at any of the other presets here in the Ampero 2 Stomp, you're not going to see it, not a single one at 100. So use that as a point of reference when you're building patches. Another thing you're definitely going to want to do is you're going to want to save as you go. And the save icon is right here, so go ahead and press it. Once you press the save button, the save patch dialog will come up, and you can tell it exactly where you want to save your patch, and you can go ahead and give it a name. Go ahead and save it, and you're good to go. Okay, one last thing before we get going here and actually building the patch. I'm going to go to the settings button up here in the upper left corner, and this is going to bring up the settings window, and this is where you can adjust all the MIDI and global settings and all that good stuff. But what I want to do is go down general settings and go to auto cab match and make sure that that's turned on. And the reason I'm turning that on is because when I select an amp inside of the Ampero 2 Stomp, it's going to give me an appropriate matched cabinet. It's just going to save me a whole lot of trouble in trying to find a cabinet that's going to work with the amp that I select. Okay, we're ready to get down to it now. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in an amp and a cabinet here. I typically like to put the amp and cabinet on the lower signal path. It just makes life a little easier if I want to add a whole bunch of effects here on the upper row. So I'm going to go to that first spot there and select it. I'm then going to go to amp. I'm going to go to clean. And here are all of the clean amps that are available to me. I'm going to go ahead and select Soloist. This is the Soldano SLO 100. I think it sounds really great. I'm just going to make a couple of little adjustments here to the gain, the master. I'm going to pull the mids back and boost the treble just a tad. Additionally, now I want to go ahead and add a cabinet. So where we're going to go is to the next space over. Click on that. And now we're going to go to cabinet. And as I mentioned before, the Ampero, once I selected that, you remember that auto cab setting mode that we selected earlier? The reason we did that is because now the Ampero is giving us some cabinets that would work appropriately with that particular amp. So we can use the UK Czech 4x12, but I happen to like the creamback and the greenback a little bit more. So I'm going to stick with the greenback for this demo. And once I've done that, I go over here to the right side of the screen and I want to change that microphone. I'm going to go ahead and change it to a 4x12, a 421. And I'm also going to change the position of the microphone here to cone, because I happen to like where I happen to like that sound a little bit better. And I'm going to keep the volume where it is, the high cut and the low cut exactly where they are. But that's how you set up an amp and a cabinet. What I'm now going to do is add in a noise gate and a compressor. So I'm going to go to the upper signal path. I'm going to select that first slot, the first space there. I'm going to go to dynamic. And right here I have noise gate, and I'm going to select AI gate. I don't need to make any adjustments to the threshold sidechain. This is perfectly fine as is, but it just gives me a good gate sound so it can keep things clean. I'm going to go to the next space over here. So select that and you can now see it's all empty here. I'm going to go back to dynamic. I'm going to go to compressor and I'm going to select the squeezer. And this is a great sounding compressor, and it doesn't interfere too much with the tone. Now, I'm not normally a huge fan of compression myself because I don't want to have anything really manipulate this tone too much, but this one really does get the job done nicely. The next effect I'm going to add into this patch is a distortion. So I'm going to go to the next space over and I'm going to go to drive. And here are all of the drives that are available to me. So it's split up into overdrives, fuzz, distortion, and bass drive. Now I'm going to go to distortion, and I'm going to select Panama Lead. This is just an amazing sounding distortion. It's obviously, the name would suggest to you right off the bat that this is meant to be a emulation of a Van Halen sort of sound. So I'm going to pull the gain back just a tad. I'm going to keep the tone just about where it is. I'm going to pull it back a little bit, and maybe just increase the volume a touch. But that should give me a good solid sound. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some reverb and some delay as well. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a delay. Now there's actually going to be 2 delays in this patch, but for right now, let's just add the first one in. So I'm going to select that first slot right after the cab. I'm going to go down the effects list and go to delay. And you can see that the module's already been built in there. Now here are all of the different types of delays that are available to me. I'm going to stick with analog delay mono. And what I'm also going to do is turn on the sync feature, and automatically the time is now set to a specific note value. So we're going to keep it at quarter notes. Now this tempo, or this time signature, or the rate of time here is linked up to the master tempo of your song. So if you change this to a different setting, like say from 120 to 100, this will follow in suit. To the right of that is the trail button. I'm going to turn that on, and what that does is it plays the trail of the delay after the effect has been turned off. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to have a second delay here, and you're going to hear why in a couple minutes once I get this all fine-tuned. But I'm going to go to the slot next to the analog delay. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to scroll down the effects list, go down to delay, and I'm going to scroll down to ambience 1. I'm going to select that. And what I'll do is turn on the sync and the trail as well here. And I'm going to keep everything else exactly as it is. And you'll hear in a couple minutes why I've selected 2 delays for this patch. The final effect we're going to bring into this patch is going to be a reverb. So I'm going to go to the final slot here. It's actually not the final, there's one more after it. But I'm going to select the one after the second delay. I'm going to go to the effects list, scroll down, and I'm going to select reverb. Now, what I want to point out here before I actually select the reverb I'm going to use for this patch is notice that there's a couple here that are grayed out. I can't use them. I can't access them, the combo spring and the tube spring. And this is because I have hit the peak of the CPU limit. So that means that, think of the Ampero like a little computer. So it can only handle so many real-time effects and EQs and all that at the same time. And once you do hit that limit, there are going to be effects that will not be available to you there. So this is where you need to get a little creative. And in future videos, I'll show you some ways to be creative when you're working along those lines and you start hitting those limits. But for this patch, I'm going to go ahead and select small plate. And I'm going to make one adjustment here to the decay parameter. I'm going to bring that back. And now we've got our patch built. But we're going to take it a step further, and I'm going to show you how to map it out to the foot switches of the Ampero 2 Stomp. Now I'm ready to put on the finishing touches to this patch. So I'm going to go to the control button here, and that's going to bring up the control expression settings. And what I want to do here is I want to map the 3 foot switches of the Ampero 2 Stomp to the distortion, delay 1, and delay 2. So with that said, I'm going to set foot switch 1 to A3. I'm going to set foot switch 2 to B3, and I'm going to set foot switch 3 to B4. The final thing we're going to do here is we're going to work with the quick access parameter knobs. So these are the 3 knobs that are right below the touchscreen of the Ampero 2 Stomp. So I'm going to set the first knob to the gain of the distortion. The second knob is going to be set to the gain of the amp. And the third knob is going to be set to the decay parameter of the reverb. Once you're done, go ahead and close that window and make sure you save your patch. And now we're ready to go ahead and check out what this patch is all about. That concludes this video. I hope you found it helpful. If there are any topics that you want me to cover on the Ampero 2 Stomp, use the comment section below and let me know, and I'll consider it. Take care. Well, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions, be sure to visit us at thepedalguide.com. But in the meantime, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly videos and tutorials. Thanks for stopping by here at thepedalguide.com, where I love pedals and so do you.